I'm Robin Gagnon.
And I'm Eric Gagnon, and we sell restaurants. We started the nation's largest restaurant brokerage firm. We sell restaurants over a decade ago. You can find us online at WeSellRestaurants.com.
We are on the radio once a week with the leading authorities in this industry talking about those subjects that are trending in the business. Tweet your own questions on our topics while we're on the air to our Twitter handle, Sell Restaurants, or post them on our Facebook page. We're at facebook.com/WeSellRestaurants. If we don't get to your question, we will follow up on social media.
Our goal is to satisfy your appetite for acquisition, feed the need for restaurant reality, and serve up a recipe for business success. If you have an idea for our show or comments, email me. My email address is eric, E-R-I-C, at WeSellRestaurants.com. For today's show, we're talking about the Florida Restaurant and Lodging Show.
You know, as restaurant brokers, we find it incredibly important to attend the major restaurant shows to stay up to date on the newest trends and technology in the business. So this year, in addition to the National Restaurant Association event, we also attended the Florida Restaurant and Lodging Show. We have an exciting hour ahead of us as we share interviews from the floor, ranging from Food Network names and faces you're familiar with to CEOs and prominent figures in the restaurant industry.
Well, Robin, that sounds really good. Let's jump right in with our first guest. Our first guest is Miss Ellyn. Ellyn has been featured on the Food Network Star, and Cupcake Wars, and she's been featured on many morning shows across the country, as well as cameo cartoon appearances on The Simpsons. Ellyn is a chef and a culinary educator. Ellyn is definitely the home economics teacher you always wanted. She single-handedly started the retro rad cooking movement by encouraging everyone to dig through their mom's recipe box, dust off their pressure cookers, crock pots, and take the old and make it new. She takes the retro remixes it and make it rad.
You know, with her quirky persona and trademark cat-eye glasses, Emily currently travels the world doing cooking demos, working with brands and product endorsements, lecturing or hosting special events, and doing consulting work, all while developing her retro rad culinary TV career and finishing her PhD in food service education. Through it all, she's gained a loyal cult following. We asked Emily to weigh in on the trends, and here's our interview.
Welcome to the show. You are?
Thank you. I'm Emily Ellyn, the Retro Rad chef from the Food Network.
Fabulous. We are so excited to run into you at the Florida Restaurant Show. We're having a blast seeing all the trends on the floor. How about you?
Absolutely. It's rad. Every year it gets better and better. It's great.
So what's the favorite thing you've seen this year? What do you see for 2014?
Well, some of the trends in food service that I see, the whole movement of farm to table is definitely taking off. Thank goodness. We're getting retro rad. Everybody's going back to their basics.
You started a fad.
About time. Well, no, I grew up on a 200-acre Christmas tree farm. I just look at it like, hey, we're eating like Mama taught us how to eat. So, yes, we're definitely going back to Mama's table, that farm to table movement. You will also see a lot of Latin-inspired food and fusions, and you'll see that some of our favorites, like those delicious burritos and tacos, are just going to get more expensive, but they're going to be cool. We're going to have all kinds of Asian fusion, and you know what? I bet we'll even see like latkes with chimichurri or something funny. You know, the Latin fusion will come, and then last but not least, the idea of crafting cocktails and crafting food with cocktails is so hot. Right now with October coming and Oktoberfest, cooking with beer is like the hottest thing. You will see me doing some barbecuing, baking with beer, even brews and fondues.
Now, and speaking of seeing you, we're in Atlanta, so tell us, aren't you going to make a visit to our nice little area in the coming months?
That's right. In the end of October, Taste of Atlanta. It's going to be great. It's going to be my third year there. I love working in Atlanta. Taste of Atlanta is awesome. I think I'll actually be on the family stage, and I'll be doing a whole series on making over leftovers. So it's like that whole idea of retro rad and how to save money. There's going to be lots of tips and tricks on, recooking, recycling some of these foods that, we have a great big old turkey for Thanksgiving. We don't always eat it, but let's remix it into something really rad.
So we're going to see you soon on Chopped Leftover?
Chopped Leftovers on the Taste of Atlanta family stage. How about that? Yes, you will. End of October.
That sounds great, Emily.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to meet you in person.
My pleasure.
Well, it was so nice to run into Emily over there, and she nails some of these trends that we're going to talk some more about in the trend section that we saw on the floor. But did you know that Food Network may not have had Emily on their show if she didn't have an Atlanta connection? You want to know what this is about? Here's what she told us.
So I have a real soft spot in my heart for Atlanta. Atlanta is the reason that I'm on the Food Network.
Really?
Yes. Well, I went to the Culinary Institute of America in Hyde Park, New York. I stayed, did my bachelor's. All the teachers said, you're wasting your skills in the back of the house. You need to be with the people. You need to be teaching. So I stayed at the CIA, and I taught all the baking students how to own and operate a cafe. So I met so many baking students. One of those baking students, actually, she convinced me to go to Paris, and we're like, okay, let's go. Let's get our master's. Went out there, got another master's in Orlando, finishing up my PhD in food service education. So, long story short, one of my other baking students, Kamal Grant, who owns Sublime Donuts in Atlanta, Georgia, 535 9th Street there, you know, best donuts in the world, calls me up. Hey, Emily, you're the only person I know that's way too educated for this industry. You think you can figure out how to franchise my company? And I said, oh, well, it can't be that hard. Let's check it out. He goes, well, I want to franchise it in Thailand. Before I know, just minor details, right? Kamal and I ended up working together, franchising it in Thailand. He's now domestically franchising around the United States, and he's just expanding into great things. He has a book, what have you. I mean, you follow him, and his donuts and everything is great there. But one day, I went in to make the donuts, and everybody was standing there with big old Cheshire cat grins, and I go, guys, I know it's 4:30 in the morning, we're making donuts. You need coffee or breakfast? What is wrong? And they go, you're going to Washington, D.C., you're going to Washington, D.C. And I said, I am? If you want me to deliver the donuts to Washington, D.C., they'll never get there. I'm a terrible driver. And they go, no, you're going to Washington, D.C. to become the next Food Network star. Here's your application, here's the plane ticket. They signed me up to do the open casting calls, and it was magic after that. I came back, Elton Brown's studio, you know, was like a mile down the road. I went to an interview with him. Before you knew it, I was on the show. And it all happened, all started in Atlanta, Georgia. I should have been in Orlando finishing that PhD, but no, I had to go procrastinate. And here I am now.
That is a wonderful
What a magical story.
Right?
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And that's a little secret that Atlanta did not know about all our Food Network stars.
That's right.
Yeah.
There's some kind of magic in the water. Lots of good stuff starts in Atlanta, I'm telling you.
We're going to keep that in mind for sure. Thank you, Emily.
Yeah,
Thank you.
cheers.
You heard it here, a Food Network star born right here in Atlanta, Georgia. You know, speaking with Emily in person, she was just as bubbly, generous, and fun as she is on the Food Network. But she wasn't the only person getting lots of buzz on the floor of that show. Eric, who did we catch up with what was also the center of attention in at least one state?
Robin, there was a huge crowd at Don Fox's presentation. You may know him as the CEO of Firehouse Subs, but he has been a one-man machine on the topic of healthcare and implementation of the Affordable Care Act, also known as the Obamacare. Don is a restaurant industry veteran with 39 years of experience, predominantly in the QSR and fast casual segment. His first job was scrubbing pots and pans and dishes in the sink of a local Italian restaurant in New Jersey. He began his food service management career in 1976 with Six Flags Amusement Parks. After 2 years, he advanced to the position of district manager. In 1980, he began a 23-year career with Burger King Corporation, which included a variety of assignments in research and development and field operations.
Don didn't even join Firehouse Subs until 2003, came on board as Director of Franchise Compliance. He rose to the position of COO and became CEO in December of 2009. Under his leadership, this brand has grown to over 670 restaurants in 36 states and Puerto Rico. He is a frequent speaker and panelist at numerous industry conferences and universities. In 2011, he was named by Nation's Restaurant News as one of the top 10 executives to watch, and he received the Muxo Golden Chain Award for his accomplishments. At the 2011 Muxo Conference, he was awarded the prestigious Operator of the Year Award. In 2013, he became a member of the National Restaurant Association's Board of Directors and was recently named one of the year's Silver Plate Award recipients. In 2013, he was named the #1 executive in the fast casual segment. He joined the Restaurant Brokers. Here's our interview with Mr. Don Fox.
So, Don, you're joining us today. Tell us a little bit again about who you are and the brand you work for.
Sure. First of all, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to speak with you all today. Don Fox, I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Firehouse of America, which is the parent company of Firehouse Subs. 670 units across the United States, 30 of which we own and operate, and we franchise the other 640.
Great. So you have really taken what can only be described as a leadership role in the Affordable Health Care Act. So tell us a little bit about what you've been doing in this industry to both share your knowledge and counsel and assist other restaurateurs in taking on this new regulation coming down the pipe.
Yes, it was a little bit over a year ago that I started to get very deeply immersed in all the nuances of the Affordable Care Act and try to get an understanding of what it would mean not only for Firehouse Subs, but for the restaurant industry overall. And as I developed our solutions, our plans for implementation, I really believed that there was a bigger picture in this that I think as an industry, which we have a fantastic industry that I'm very proud of, I think there's an opportunity to make sure that we do a good, effective job collectively at implementing the law. And I've been out on the road a good part of the last year sharing those best practices through the National Restaurant Association, International Franchise Association, the various state associations, hoping to make just a little bit of a difference on it.
So if there are 3 things that a restaurateur needs to know about this Affordable Care Act, what are those 3 things that you could summarize that they should have already memorized and be ready to implement?
Well, with absolute certainty, they need to know if they're a large or small employer. And even though they're now not required, if a large employer, to offer insurance until 2015, they can't put their head back in the sand and think that there's nothing to worry about until then. So, number 1, make sure to understand your status and then implement your solutions before the start of 2014. The second most important thing I would say is talk to your employees. I think any final decision that an operator makes in terms of whether to offer insurance or not should take into account the needs and the situation of their employees. There isn't a restaurant operator in the world who can operate a restaurant without their staff. They're vital to your business, and what is in the best interest of your employees should be in the best interest of the business, and vice versa. This is an opportunity to make your employees more aware of the needs of the business as well. Both have to be fundamentally sound.
Great. Now, you're talking to a lot of employees and getting their feedback. How do they feel about the Affordable Care Act? Are they excited?
Not really. I started talking to our employees in focus group settings dating back to the end of last year. And particularly at that point in time, most had very little knowledge of the Affordable Care Act. And I would say the same still holds true of the general population today. I think the average uninsured American doesn't realize that there's a mandate to get insurance or face the penalties. So in the process of talking to employees, we brought them up to speed on what's in front of them. And the vast majority of them are very taken aback by the fact that the government has mandated this. And I won't get into the merits of whether it's a wise decision to not have insurance or not, but the bottom line is it has always been people's choice. And to a great extent, that choice is being taken away, or at least a penalty levied against it. So that's what sets them back the most, and then the financial realities of what this means. There's been a long history within businesses, both in restaurant industry and other industries, that have offered insurance to employees going back for decades, and the employees don't take the insurance. And it's predominantly because of affordability, and that really hasn't changed. So they are wrestling with the economics, and they'll have some difficult decisions to make themselves coming as near as October 1st.
Robin and I caught part of your presentation today at the Florida Restaurant and Lodging Show, and you're talking that your company is intending to start in 2014 to implement healthcare benefits to some of your employees. And I think some of the questions from the audience came that would it be a competitive advantage, or you say you were talking about raising prices maybe because of the cost of it, and you say, hey, if there's stuff that we expect to happen,
it will work out. But do you see this in 2015 and beyond as a competitive advantage between some restaurants operators to say, I have a better benefit than you, so I recruit better talent than you?
I absolutely think that's going to be the case. I think that there's an inherent advantage to offering a good program to the employees. In many cases, what the employee will pay, whether they get it from me or whether they get it from the exchange, may be equal. But that added benefit of the convenience, the certainty of it being done in conjunction with the employer, I think adds a lot of value. And I think those employees will be very appreciative of the fact that we've stepped out and done that. We'll be very transparent about what it costs. They'll know the investment we're making in them as well as what they're spending. Our current estimates are that a policy will cost about $5,000. So typically we would pay 80% of that. So about a $1,000 expense to the employee. Now that's depending on someone's family income, that $1,000 is very meaningful, but I think they will have a very strong appreciation for the $4,000 that we're paying towards it, and that's going to benefit us in the business. I think those employers who don't offer insurance, their employees will compare notes with friends, family members, people with companies where it is being offered, and they'll draw conclusions about the quality of those employers, and those that are offering it will become preferred places to work, and I think draw better talent, and we'll see that play out over time. By adopting early in 2014, I'm looking to put ourselves in an even better position in that regard, especially when I'm doing it when I don't have to by law.
That's really amazing. You know, and one thing I have to say about restaurateurs is they are innovative, but they're also independent. So how are they reacting to all of this regulation? Do you see them jumping on board? Do you see them being led kicking and screaming?
Boy, I think the biggest challenge has been just getting the education out there for people to become aware of what's in front of them. It's a big industry. We have almost 1 million restaurant locations in the United States. And the NRA has made great strides, but still they can't reach everyone. The state associations, there's so many independents in particular, and even some larger independents that just don't have that connectivity through the associations, which, by the way, is a great reason to join the NRA or the state associations. It really adds value at times like this. But a lot of operators really don't know, or they aren't working with good counsel or payroll services. Maybe they do their own payroll, so they're not getting advice on that end. So there is a lofty, it's a challenge to get all the education out there. And I think as we come down to this October 1st notification deadline, for example, it wouldn't surprise me if the majority of operators are just now in the final days wrestling with it or even learning about it. In the session I did today, I was approached by a couple of operators who were just, by virtue of that presentation, now made aware that by October 1 they have to do the notice. Now, to express a frustration for a moment, even for someone like myself on behalf of Firehouse and other operators who have been out in front of this, what is incredibly frustrating is that despite our best attempts, we can't even fully execute yet because of the poor job that the government has done in administrating and rolling this out. You know, for example, as much as I would have liked to have already notified my employees about the exchanges, in Florida, the exchange isn't open. As it stands right now in Florida, we don't know what the insurance premiums are or what they're going to cost. So I'm still basing some of my decisions in a vacuum, which isn't a good way to do business. Anyone in business, if business did business the way the government is doing business, we would be justifiably criticized and scrutinized.
Out of business.
And out of business in all likelihood, yes. So very frustrating, especially if you're a company that I think the government would say, oh, here's a company trying to do the right thing and meet the spirit of it, yet they haven't given us the information, the tools, and the final regulations to be able to execute it, even if we wanted to.
Well, you just heard from the #1 executive in the fast casual segment, named that award in 2013, Mr. Don Cox. So really, we just picked up some amazing interviews at the Florida Restaurant and Lodging Show, and we have more to talk about that hour. For example, Eric, we discovered a lot of cost savings on the floor of the show. What were some of the things that caught your eye?
There was so many things, Robin. One I want to talk a little bit about was about pizza. We know pizza is very big right now, and you have all kinds of ovens, from conveyor belt to sliders to brick oven, but it's also making to dough. And when I say dough, I mean the dough pizza, not the dough to money, guys. But we saw something very interesting. Everybody has a tosser, usually a person that tosses the pizza and makes the pie wider and nice. But it's also very hard to get consistency, and there's thinning in the middle, thicker on the outsides. And also that person, if you have a pizza shop, is one of the most expensive employee you have. And what happens if he doesn't come to work, or he's sick, or he decides to leave you? Well, this company came up with a pizza dough ball, extender. That makes it even all the way through, from the edges to the middle. And then all you have to do is take the fingers and make a little cross out of it. The machine costs about $5,000, and it can do pizza through about 20 inches. And so regardless if your person comes to work or not, you have a machine that can help you doing it. And also, if you're really busy, so you can facilitate and expedite, because it takes about half of the time. So you have a saving cost of labor, you have a saving cost of consistency and weight. So that was pretty amazing.
We also saw, remember a convection oven that had a USB port in it? You actually just plugged in your flash drive, and then it would read what the recipe was supposed to be, set up exactly to cook to the right time, and it would as well count the number of units prepared. So if somebody pushes in chicken enchiladas, it can cross-reference that to their POS system. That was a high-tech way. We saw a really low-tech but smart way that operators can save money, with beautiful wine glasses being etched with your logo. So you think this is a fabulous branding idea, but the purpose is that you're creating a pour mark for your wait staff to keep them from overfilling the glass. So if you train everyone, okay, you just fill up right to that knife and fork on the We Sell Restaurants logo, then every single pour is the right amount of time every single time. Lots of things at the show, and we're running tight on time. Eric, you want to tell us more about the next segment?
Yes, stay tuned for the next segment. We'll have some people from Technomic and also Restaurant Reality. In the meantime, I'd like to thank one of our sponsors, GeorgiaRestaurantLaw.com. Schedule a free in-office consultation with a Georgia restaurant attorney and receive access to dozens of flat-fee legal services that you need for your food and beverage business. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after the break.